Good day, students. Welcome to our online class in mathematics. My name is Mr. Kishu Kamal. Stay with me as I take you through this. Today, we're going to continue from our previous lesson, but we're going to look at estimation. Okay? Now, to estimate means to find an approximate value. Estimates are used to obtain a rough idea of the outcome of a calculation. When estimating, use rounded numbers. One significant figure is usually enough, or to the nearest whole number. Make sure that when writing your results, use the symbol. You can see this symbol in red, which means approximately equal to. What we're saying is that anytime we come across this symbol in mathematics, it signifies approximately equal to. And remember, when you want to estimate, you use random numbers or you use rounded numbers. That is, you can round it to one significant figure or to the nearest whole number. Like one significant figure, if you have 73, 73 will be rounded down to 70 because 7 will be the target digit. Then 3 is not up to 5, 3 will turn to 0. So 73 will now turn to 70 to one significant figure. But how can we round it off to nearest whole number? Let's assume we have 73.1. 73 is the whole number. The decimal part is the fraction, 0.1. 1 is not up to 5, so 73.1 the nearest whole number will give you 73. Let's assume it is 73.7. 73.7. The 73 you have there is the whole number, while the 0.7 is the fractional part. And the fractional part, which is 7, is up to 5. So you add 1 to the left. So 73 plus 1 will give you 74. So that means 73.7 to the nearest whole number will give you 74. Okay? Now let's look at example 1. We're going to estimate 221 times 397. Estimate 221 times 397. Now, how can we carry out this problem? What you're going to do is round up the numbers to one significant figure. Okay? Now, you have 221 times 397. How can you round off 221 to one significant figure? If you look at these two, right, these two will be the target digits. Since it's one significant figure, you count this first digit. Now, you now look at the digits beside these two to the right. Is this one? Is this up to 5? No. So these two here will turn to 0. This one will turn to 0. That means we bring down 2. So 221 to or 221 to one significant figure will give you 300. Now, the same thing applies here. You round this to one significant figure. So this 3 is the target digit. You count it as 1. Look at the digit beside it. That is what? 9. The next digit after the target digit is 9. Look at this 9. Is it up to 5? Yes. So you add 1 to the left. So 1 plus this 3 is what? 4. While this will turn to 0, 0. The reason why we are adding 1 to the left is because this 9 is up to 5. So we round it up. That's why we are adding 1 here. This should give you 4. While the remaining 2 will turn to 0. But if you look at this one, this is target, this 2 is not up to 5. So you just drop down 0. Okay? This will turn to 0. This will also turn to 0. So you now have 200. So 200 times 400 will now give you 80,000. 80,000 will give you the solution to this problem. Now, let's look at the next example. In this example, we're told that a school has 21 classes. One of the second year classes has 34 students. Estimate the number of students in the classroom. Estimate the number of students in the what? In the school. Now, solution. The first thing you do is you round up the numbers to what? One significant figure. You round it to what? One significant figure. Okay? So that's the first thing we are going to do. We round the numbers to one significant figures. Alright. Now remember the number of classes you have there was 21. If you round off 21 to one significant figure, you count these two as the first digit, that's one significant figure. Now, what's the next is up beside 2? It is 1. So this 2 is right as the target digit. Because it's one significant figure, you only count this one as 1. Now look at it beside it is 1. 1 is not up to 5. Okay, so that one will turn to 0. Okay, then you now drop down 2. So 21 to one significant figure will give you 20 because this one will be rounded down. So it will make this 20. Okay, now number of students per class is what? 30. How did we get 30? Here we were given 34 students, and to round off 31 to one significant figure, what will it be? You count 3 first, then look at this 4. It's not up to 5, so you round it down. So this will give you 30. So the number of students per class will now be 30. Now, how will you now get the total number of students in the school where you have 20 classes and there are 30 students per class? So that will give you 20 times 20 times 30 because you have 30 students in each class and you have 20 classes. So 20 times 30 will give us 600. So the 600 is going to be the solution to this problem. Now, let's look at example 3. A market woman wanted to buy 290 yams at 93 naira. Find her A. Estimate cost. B. Actual costs. Okay, we're told to find the estimate cost and the what? Actual costs. Okay, now how can we get the solution to this problem? Remember, the estimate cost is an approximate value. The actual cost is the total cost, the real cost. So that's the difference between the two. Now let's look at the solution now. You have 290 here. If you round this to one significant figure, you count 1. So these two will now serve as the target digits. You now look at this beside 2, which is what? 9. 9 is up to 5. What are you going to do? You round it up. By the time you round it up, what will you do? You add 1 to the left. So 1 plus 2 will give you 3. Why these two digits here will turn to 0, 0? That's 300. That's how we got this 300. Now look at 93. 93 to one significant figure again. This 9 is going to be counted as the first significant figure. So automatically 9 will be the target digit. Now look at the digit beside 9. It is what? 3. 3 is not up to 5, so it will turn to 0. You round it down. So this will now give us 90. So we now have 90 here. So this will be approximately 300 times 90 will give us 27,000 naira. This 27,000 naira will give us our what? Estimate cost. That is the estimate cost. Okay. All right. So what we've done here is to round up the numbers to one significant figure. Now look at the second one. We have 290 times 93 naira. You round this to, you don't need to round this because this one is the actual cost. So for the second part of the problem, you just multiply 290 times 93 naira because you have 290 yams in which each is sold at the rate of 93 naira. So the actual cost is just the multiplication of the figures we given. 290 times 93 naira, which will give us 26,970 naira. So this is going to give us the actual cost. Can compare the actual cost to the estimate cost. So the two values are similar or they are very close to each other. Okay, all right. So let's go to the next slide. All right, now this is going to be our example 4. We're told that a boy bought 62 oranges at $1.8 each. 62 oranges at $1.8 each. Find the estimate cost. This question does not demand for the actual cost. If it is the actual cost, you are simply going to multiply 62 times $1.8. Okay. Since we are told to find the estimate cost, how are we going to solve that now? Now, the first thing is you approximate this to one significant figure. 6 will be the first significant figure. Now, that means this 6 will be the target digit. Look at the digit next to 6. It is what? 2. Is this 2 up to 5? No. So that means this 2 will turn to 0. You round it down. By the time this 2 turn to 0, you now bring down 6. That will give us 60. That's how we got this. Now look at this 1.80. You are going to round this to the nearest whole number. Nearest whole number. This one will be to one single figure, but this one will be to the nearest whole number. So this is the whole number here, 1. This is the whole number. If you look at this one, you can't call this 0.80. This is 0.80, not 0.80. Now, if you look at the digit immediately after the whole number, it is 8. This 8 is up to 5, so you round it up. By the time you round it up, you add 1 to the left. So, by the time you add 1 to the left, 1 plus 1 will give you 2, while the remaining 2 digits return to 0. That will be what? $2. Okay? The estimate cost will now give you the approximated value here, which is 60 multiplied by $2. That will give you $120. $120. That's the solution to that problem. Now, let's look at example 5. In example 5, the question is, what is the approximate answer to 508 plus 291? This is a kind of operation that involves addition, okay? But we are going to find the approximate answer. How can we do justice to this kind of problem? First, what we're going to do is to round off each number to one significant figure. You can see you have to round off each number to one significant figure. That means you count only one digit. Can you see that? Now, let's start with this 508. The digit 5 here will be the first significant figure. Now, look at the digit immediately after it. That means if I count this as the first significant figure, that means this 5 will be my target digit. Since this 5 is going to be my target digit, what will happen? You now look at the digit after it. It is 0. It's not up to 5. So that means this will turn to 0, or this is already 0. This one will also turn to 0. You now have 0, 0, 5. That is 500. That's how we got this. Now look at 291. Let's round it off to one significant figure. This is the first significant figure, 2 is the first significant figure, then that makes this 2 our target digit. Now, since this is our target digit, we're going to look at the digit immediately after 2, which is 9. This 9 is up to 5. That means we round it up. In the process of rounding it up, you add 1 to the left. Okay, by the time you add 1 to the left, 1 plus 2 will give us 3, while the remaining 2 is returned to 0. That will make it 300. So that's going to be 500 plus 300, which will give us 300. So 300, 800, 800, 500 plus 300 will give us 800. Sorry, so that means 800 is going to give us the final answer to this problem. Now, let's look at example 6. Find the approximate value of 817 times 48 divided by 19. 817 times 48 divided by 19. How can we find a solution to this problem? Okay, the first thing is we round off each number, all the digits you have here, each digit, you round it off to one significant figure. Okay, as you can see, after rewriting this, if you look at this is 817. 8 is the first significant figure here, which makes 8 the target digit. Look at the next digit after target is 1. It's not up to 0. So these two numbers return to 0 while you drop down 8, which will give us 800. Okay, now look at this 48. So one significant figure, this 4 is the first significant figure. That makes it the target digit. Then now look at the digit next to 4, it is 8. This digit here is up to 5. You add 1 to the left. 1 plus 4 will give you 5. While this 8 will turn to 0, giving us 50. Now, look at 19 here. The first singular figure is 1. That makes 1 the tag digit. What are we going to do? You look at the digits to the right of the tag digit, which is 9. 9 is up to 5, you round it up. You add 1 to the left. 1 plus 1 will give you 2, while this one will turn to 0, which will give us 20. You now multiply 800 times 50, will give us 40,000 divided by 20. So by the time we divide this, what we're going to have is 2,000. 2,000 is our final answer, okay? All right. Then there are a series of problems here we are going to solve, okay? Just try to practice this. And you see that for the first question, you're told that number one, a pack of apple juice costs 285 naira. You're told to approximate the cost of 19,503 packs of apple juice. So that is question number one. In question number two, a woman decides to buy a bed costing 8,000 naira and 50 naira and a table costing 3,680 naira. By using approximations, estimate the total amount she decides to spend. That's question number two. Equation number three, a box full of exercise books weigh 12 kg. If one exercise book weighs 12.5 grams, notice that this is 12 kilogram. Why this one is grams? The unit here is in grams, this one is in kilogram. You're now told to find the approximate number of exercise books in the box. Now note, 1 kilogram is equal to 1,000 grams. That means for every 1 kilogram, you get 1,000 grams. For the 12 kg is 12 times 1,000 gram because this 12 kg actually means this 12 kg you are looking at actually means 12 times 1 kg. And what is 1 kg? 1 kg is 1,000 grams. So 12 times 1,000 grams will give me 12,000 grams. Okay, that means you can't work with two different units, grams and kilogram. So this one will convert this one to grams, which is 10,000 grams, while this one will now be 10.2 grams. So in other words, you now find the approximate number of books. This one is already in 12,000 grams. Then this one, you convert this one to the nearest gram. Okay, that means to the nearest whole number. It will be in gram. Then now carry out division. So that is the question I want you to practice. Now, the next question is round off to one singular figure and then approximate the answer. What do we have? Okay, you have 3478 times 18. 3478 times 18. So this is the only part I want you to do or just practice. So you can ignore the last slide. Ignore this, okay? This is the part I want you to do. All right, thanks so much. And if you're having any issue in the course of the lesson, you can try to pause the video, okay? I will always remain your humble tutor, Mr. Akensho Kamal. Thank you very much, kings and queens of grade 7. It's bye for now.